You can make $120,000 a year and still feel like you're falling behind. Not because you're bad with money, but because before your paycheck ever reaches your life, a system has already decided where it goes. This is you. You worked hard to get here. You studied, you stayed late, you said yes when other people said no. And eventually, you made it. 6 figures. Then you looked at your bank account, and something didn't match. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why, with real numbers. And once you see what's actually happening to your paycheck before it ever reaches your life, you'll never look at a salary offer the same way again. Let's start with two numbers: $120,000. That's your salary. $86,900. That's what actually lands in your account after federal tax, provincial tax, CPP, and EI. In Ontario, BC is a little less. Alberta is a little more. That's a $33,100 gap. Before rent, before food, before your life even starts. $33,000 that never really belonged to you in the first place. Sit with that. Now, most people know they pay taxes. That's expected. What nobody tells you is what happens after the tax. After you've done everything right, there are three things quietly absorbing the rest of it: fixed costs, tax friction, and something nobody talks about: social cost. And the third one? Nobody says it out loud. I will. When your income goes up, your spending follows, not because you're reckless, because it makes sense. You get the job. You sign a better lease because you can now. You buy a reliable car because the commute is real. You start dressing for the job, eating better, keeping up. None of it feels like a decision. It just feels like adjusting. But here's what happens when you actually add it up. A one-bedroom in Toronto right now, $2,300 a month. Let that sit. $2,300. Before utilities, before internet, before anything that makes it livable. Vancouver, $2,500. That's $27,600 to $30,000 a year. On your $86,900 take home, you've already spent up to 35% of your income before you've bought a single meal. Financial advice says keep housing under 30% of your gross income. But 30% of gross doesn't get you a one-bedroom in the city where your $120,000 job actually exists. So you pay it, because the alternative is a 2-hour commute. Here's the problem. Once these costs are set, they don't budge. Your $2,300 apartment doesn't become $1,800 when money gets tight. It stays exactly where it is. And every other financial decision you make happens inside that locked frame. That's not bad luck. That's a system. And it gets tighter when you get a raise. Here's a scenario that happens all the time. You get a $15,000 raise, real money. You negotiated it, or got promoted, or switched jobs. For about 2 weeks, you feel it. Then you don't. The exact numbers vary depending on where you live, but the mechanism is identical everywhere. Here's how it plays out in Canada. Once you're earning over $111,733, you're in a federal tax bracket of 26%. Add Ontario's provincial rate, and you're looking at roughly 43 cents of every extra dollar going to tax. That $15,000 raise? You kept $8,550. But here's where it breaks. Your lifestyle didn't adjust by $8,550. It adjusted by $15,000. Because $15,000 is the number you heard, the dinner you celebrated at, the upgrade you felt comfortable making, the shift in what started to feel normal. All of it happened around the gross number, not the net. Your lifestyle doesn't adjust to what you keep. It adjusts to what you hear. This isn't a budgeting failure. It's how your brain works. And it's exactly why the system uses the bigger number. Because that's the number that changes your behavior. But the raise is only part of it. Because there's a third drain on your money that has nothing to do with taxes. And almost nobody accounts for it. Nobody budgets for it. But it is real. And it is expensive. It's the cost of looking like someone who earns $120,000. A 2025 H&R Block Canada survey of nearly 1,800 Canadians found that 85% feel living paycheck to paycheck is now the norm. Not just low earners, everyone. Because the spending that comes with a professional life, the wardrobe, the networking, the client dinners, the subscriptions, quietly absorbs the difference at every income level. None of it shows up on a budget. All of it shows up on a credit card statement. Think about what that actually looks like. The lunches at places you wouldn't personally choose. The neighborhood you live in, not just because you want it, but because your career expects you to be near it. The car that says you're serious. The phone that says you're current. This isn't vanity. In a professional world, this is real. How you show up changes how you're perceived. And that affects your income. But here's the trade-off nobody explains. The higher your income, the higher the baseline of the people around you. And the higher that baseline, the more expensive it becomes just to stay visible. It's not a line item, but it is absolutely a cost, one you were never warned about. And here's what makes this so frustrating. None of these three things required you to make a single bad decision. Not one. So even when you're doing everything right, it still feels like something is quietly slipping through your hands. If this is the first time someone has actually explained this clearly, subscribe. Because this channel exists for exactly this. You're not behind because you're bad with money. You're behind because nobody showed you how this system actually works. You didn't make bad decisions. You made completely reasonable ones, inside a system that was never explained to you, and that's exactly why people earning good money still feel stuck. But this is where it changes. Because there are two tools built into the Canadian tax code that work directly against all three of these forces. And most high earners aren't using either of them. The most powerful one is your RRSP. Every dollar you put into your RRSP reduces your taxable income by that same dollar. At a 43% tax rate, a $10,000 contribution puts roughly $4,300 back in your hands at tax time. That's not a savings trick. That's a 43% return on the first dollar. Guaranteed. And most people at your income level are leaving it on the table. The second tool is your TFSA, and it's more powerful than people realize. Your TFSA room grows whether you use it or not. If you haven't been contributing since you were 18, you could have $95,000 or more in unused room right now. That's money that can grow. Investments, dividends, completely tax-free. Not later, not deferred. Tax-free forever. You can't beat a system you don't understand. And you can't escape a trap you can't see. But now, you can see it. And now you have the tools to do something about it. If you're outside Canada, this is your 401k, your ISA. Different name, same idea. Money you can legally move out of reach of your highest tax rate. The high-income poverty trap isn't about failure. It's not about bad choices. It's about a salary that was supposed to feel like freedom, and somehow never quite does. And the most dangerous part isn't what it costs you financially. It's the story it tells you. That you just live in an expensive city. That 6 figures isn't enough. That maybe you just need to earn more. And that story keeps you on the treadmill. And the treadmill doesn't stop on its own. The only way off is to start moving your money differently than the system expects you to. So here's the one thing I want you to do before you close this video. Go to CRA My Account, look up your RSP contribution room. It takes 2 minutes. Find the number, because that number is the exact amount of income you're allowed to move out of reach of a 43% tax rate. Outside Canada, open your equivalent, your 401k, your ISA, same 2 minutes, same move. Do it before you close this tab. That's where it starts.